In the fall of 481, he came down to Sardis, where his army assembled. Herodotus gives us the wildly inflated force of 5 million in all, including camp followers. But the actual fighting force can scarcely have been more than 150,000 or so. The Persian navy, which made itself ready in Ionian harbors, consisted of about 660 Phoenician and Ionian warships. Now, I've heard other estimates that it was as high as 180,000, so it certainly, and I've heard 2 million by exaggerated, ancient historians. Herodotus says 5 million, but respected historians put it between 150 and 200,000, just by the logistics of what he could have supported and come up with, and so on. The Greeks had had 10 years in which to prepare for the next Persian assault. As was their wont, they had spent their time mainly in internecine wars and internal dissensions. But, more or less by accident, they had forged certain weapons which were to be of decisive value in the approaching battle. Now, one of the decisive weapons was the unity of Athens. So, the democracy became more complex and so on, so that was one of the weapons. The other weapon they had, though, is they built a navy. Now, Themistocles wanted this navy to be built. He was very interested in this. We're about to hear about Themistocles here. In 483 and 482 came a fortunate discovery of a new rich silver deposit in the state of Laurium. Themistocles persuaded his fellow citizens to forego the distribution among themselves of the resulting profit of 100 talents, and instead to raise the Athenian fleet to 200 triremes. Now, I don't know if they estimated that to be 100 talents or if that's what it turned out to be. He doesn't mention here. 200 triremes is a lot. And a trireme is a really good ship. You have the bronze on the front and stuff. Ostensibly, his fleet was to be useful against Aegina, but Themistocles had clearly in mind the Persian threat, and also a program of making Athens the major naval power in the Greek world. Now, they had lost a battle to Aegina, and that's how he presented this to the Senate. He said, no, let's use this silver mine, the proceeds from this silver mine. Don't just hand it out to all the citizens generally. Let's build ships because we lost that war against Aegina, or Aegina, I've heard different pronunciations, and it's that island just off the coast there. Let's go get those bastards. Let's build us a navy. Now, he cannot bring up the Persians. Remember, they're the elephant in the room that you can't mention. He can't bring them up. But that is the reason he knows they need a navy. He knows they need to be able to defend themselves against a massive Persian attack anytime. He believes it's imminent. A lot of people know it's imminent. You just can't mention it. So he did convince them, let's go ahead and build these ships and we'll be able to beat Aegina. As the Persians gathered their huge forces in Asia Minor, some of the leading Greek states began to prepare generally for the attack and assembled at Sparta in 481 to form a league. Their ability to join together was a further basic element in the eventual Greek victory. And the allies, moreover, avoided the serious mistake of the Ionians, 499 to 94, by settling upon a single leader, the state of Sparta, which was to furnish both generals and admirals. He asserts here the mistake of the Ionians was that they didn't have clear centralized leadership, and that they had hunkered down just into a defensive position. They didn't go out aggressively seek to protect themselves by having a big navy and so on. But by settling upon a single leader, the use of Sparta, they hoped to avoid those troubles that Ionia had. Beside Athens and Sparta stood the Spartan allies, such as Corinth and Aegina, and a number of smaller states, to a total of 31 in the end. Nonetheless, the jealousy and particularism which stamped Greek international relations led far more Greeks to remain neutral or even to go over to the Persians. Argos could not subdue its hatred of Sparta to join a Spartan-directed alliance and remained neutral. Before it went neutral, it demanded that it be given the leadership of the Greek forces. Sparta will not have control. We will lead the Greek forces. And when that was denied, they were like, we're out. So they remained neutral. Thebes and most other Greek states of central Greece felt themselves directly open to the Persians and yielded in surrender when approached by the Persian army. To make matters worse, those who consulted the oracle of Delphi were given warning omens. The priests of Apollo, in calculating the odds, felt that resistance had virtually no chance and discouraged such suppliants as the Cretans from giving aid to the Greek side. Don't even help them, it's hopeless. That's what the gods said. Misinformed gods. They didn't know about the Athenians. Both by land and by sea, those Greeks who stood against the Persians were outnumbered about 2 to 1. Now, the Persian advance, Artemisium and Thermopylae, 480 BC. This is 10 years after Marathon. The Persian army was so large that it had to march around the Aegean rather than sailing across, as in 490. Indeed, it could not live off the land, but had to have shipborne supplies. So at first you say, oh no, the army's coming by land, the navy that Athens built's not going to do any good. But they've got to supply their army by ship. There's no other way to get the supplies to them. Can you imagine the logistics of supplying that army with wagons? As a result, the army kept close to the shore, in a direct contact with the fleet, which, for its part, needed a protected anchorage each night. Ancient galleys were not seaworthy enough to stay out in storms, and rowers had to stretch their legs on shore after their day's work. Ancient galleys were worthless. In fact, one of the big advantages that the Greeks have over the Persians is just that their ships are just better built. Just all around better built. They're not just hobbled together things that'll float and carry people. They're finely engineered pieces of work, you know. Okay, the basic weakness in the Persian plans was seized upon by the sharp mind of Themistocles. If only the Greeks could defeat the Persian navy, the huge army of Xerxes would be a much less serious threat. Now, remember, Greece is a barren territory. There's nothing, you can't live off the land there. You've got to pack a lunch if you're going to invade. To secure the proper conditions for naval victory, in turn, 2 steps were necessary. First, the maritime powers among the Greek allies, especially Athens, must concentrate all their energies on the sea. Secondly, the Greek admirals must inveigle, I-N-V-E-I-G-L-E, apologize for my ignorance, I don't know that word, inveigle the superior Persian navy into narrow waters, where its numbers and the skill of its Phoenician contingent would be less effective. And that's what, indeed, the Battle of Salamis ends up being. Is go ahead and look at the Straits of Salamis on your map, and you'll see a pretty small area in there. Themistocles was not able to divert all the energies of the Peloponnesians from building a wall across the isthmus itself, a naive plan, which quite overlooked the fact that the Persian fleet could outflank its defense. So he convinced them to focus on the navy, and yet there were some people insisted on building a wall. So we'll just build a wall right here, and we'll just build a wall and stop the Persians right there. We'll just protect the Peloponnesus. We'll just build a wall right there. Some boats could just come right. No, stop them at the wall. Now they were trying to decide where they're going to make the stand. Then where are they going to send the army to make their stand? So Thermopylae was chosen. It was where the coastal road was hemmed between the sea and the mountains to a path of only 50 feet wide. Now, if you've seen the movie 300, you know what this is about. This is a fantastic story. The mighty panoply of Xerxes made its way slowly across the Hellespont via 2 bridges of boats, along the north coast of the Aegean, where a canal had been dug for his fleet across the dangerous Mount Athos Peninsula. Yes, he dug a canal across Mount Athos Peninsula. I realize this is wholly inadequate, but you can recognize Peloponnesus, Athens. Mount Athos is right there, and they dug the canal right there. So it's up there by Macedonia. There's Mount Athos on a little teeny finger of land, 3 fingers of land going out there, and they dug a canal through one of those babies. Because it was so damn dangerous to go around that. The logistics, I mean, my goodness. So much effort put into closing the alligator's jaws on these Greeks.